Your mind is being trained every day. The question is not whether it is learning. The question is what is training it. Notifications, group chats, arguments, news, comparison, and the constant pull to check one more thing all teach the same lesson. React now, think later. That is how a person becomes scattered. That is how inner strength leaks away in tiny pieces. This video is about 10 Stoic habits that make you mentally strong in real life, not in theory, not in a quiet room with no pressure, but in the office, in traffic, in a crowded kitchen, after a hard message, or in the hour when you are tired and tempted to abandon your standards. Rule 1 is simple. Train attention before it trains you. Attention is the gate of the citadel. Whatever enters there can shape your mood, your choices, and your discipline. If you let every sound and image enter without resistance, your life becomes public property. So begin with one refusal. Do not check your phone for the first few minutes after waking. Do not let the day grab your face before you have gathered your thoughts. Sit up, breathe, notice the room, choose the first task on purpose. This is not a ritual for appearances, it is a practical act of command. A strong mind is not one that never wanders, it is one that returns. Again and again it returns to the task, to the principle, to the present duty. Picture a citadel gate closing against the storm, not forever, just long enough to decide what deserves entry. Rule 2. Choose discomfort on purpose. Most people do not become weak because life is unbearable. They become weak because they organize their day around avoiding every strain. They take the easier route, delay the difficult conversation, sit in comfort a little longer, and quietly teach themselves that discomfort is an emergency. Stoic strength grows when you stop treating difficulty as a threat to your identity. The cold room, the early alarm, the hard workout, the focused hour without music, the rejected urge to complain, the plain meal, the longer walk instead of the easier ride. These are small ways to teach the body that it does not rule the mind. This is not punishment, it is practice. You are showing yourself that you can feel resistance without collapsing into it. That lesson matters when someone speaks to you sharply, when work piles up, when loneliness makes you want to numb out, or when the day begins to press on your patience. Choose one hard thing each day that is safe, simple, and deliberate. Make your bed without negotiating with yourself. Finish the workout when your enthusiasm drops. Take the uncomfortable task first. Sit still for 5 minutes before checking anything. The point is not suffering. The point is sovereignty. A soft life is not the same as a strong one. The man or woman who can tolerate clean discomfort becomes harder to manipulate, harder to distract, and harder to break. Remember this phrase, discomfort is a teacher, when you stop fleeing it. Rule 3. Start the day before the world does. If your morning begins with other people's voices, your attention is already borrowed. You wake up and immediately step into borrowed urgency. Messages, headlines, other people's opinions, the pressure to answer, the pressure to perform. A Stoic day begins with ownership. Before your phone opens the gate, you open your mind. Ask one question. What kind of person do I intend to be today? Calm under pressure, honest in speech, hard to provoke, clear in the work, slow to self-betray. This does not require a long ceremony, it requires order. Wake, breathe, sit for a moment, and decide your first action. If you can, keep your phone out of the room for the first part of the morning. Let your mind become solid before it becomes available. A mind that is immediately invaded becomes easily steered. Think of the citadel at dawn. Before the markets open, before the streets fill, before the storm of attention begins, the gate is already guarded. That is what a disciplined morning does. It prepares the inner walls before the world arrives to test them. When you start this way, the day does not own you. You enter it with a spine. And even if the day turns noisy, you are no longer beginning from chaos. You are beginning from command. Rule 4. Delay the first impulse. The first emotion is often automatic. Anger rises. Envy stings. Pride wants to defend itself. Fear wants to escape. None of that makes you defective. It makes you human. But if you obey the first impulse every time, you become predictable to your own unrest. Stoic strength lives in the space between stimulus and response. Not a dramatic pause, a real one, a breath, a count to 10, a walk to another room, a glass of water, a silent review, of what is actually happening versus what your emotion is demanding. This matters when someone insults you in a meeting, when a text feels disrespectful, when you see another person's success and feel the old comparison begin, or when you want to say something sharp just to regain control. The first impulse is usually trying to protect your image. The second thought can protect your character. Practice this daily. Before replying to anything charged, wait. Before sending the message, reread it. Before speaking in anger, lower your voice. Before making the problem larger, make yourself quieter. Quiet is not weakness. Quiet is command under pressure. Imagine a sword not thrown in the first flash of heat, but held in the hand of a disciplined guard. That is the difference. The impulse may appear. Rule 5. Review your conduct at night. A strong mind does not drift into sleep without examination. The day leaves residue. Words said too fast. A moment of weakness. A boundary not held. A task avoided. A promise kept. A temptation resisted. If you never look back, you keep repeating what you never understood. The Stoic practice is simple. Before sleep, sit quietly for a few minutes and ask, where did I act with self-command today? Where did I give away my power? What triggered me? What did I do well that I should repeat tomorrow? You are not staging a trial. You are gathering intelligence. This habit makes you harder to deceive, especially by your own excuses. It also keeps small failures from becoming identity. You learn to correct without collapse. You learn to improve without self-hatred. Try it with a notebook, or in silence. Write 3 lines if you want. 1 line for what you did well. 1 line for what needs correction. 1 line for tomorrow's first right action. That is enough. Picture the city going dark and the citadel doors closing. The guard does not panic over the day's noise. He checks the walls, counts what entered, and prepares for the next dawn. That is how you should end your day. Not numb, not drifting. Rule 6. Want less than the crowd wants. Much of modern weakness comes from over-desire. More attention, more approval, more things, more stimulation, more proof that you matter. The crowd is easy to influence because it is hungry. A hungry mind can be pulled anywhere. Stoic strength grows when your wants become simpler. Not cold, not deprived, clear. You stop making your peace depend on the next purchase, the next compliment, the next invitation, the next surge of excitement. You learn to be satisfied with enough. This habit changes how you move through the world. At work, you do not need to impress everyone. In relationships, you do not need to be chosen by everyone. In private, you do not need to constantly feed the appetite for novelty. You can sit in a quiet room and not feel empty. That is power. Practice a little voluntary plainness. Wear the simpler option. Eat without excess. Leave the phone in another room for an evening. Walk without headphones. Spend time without broadcasting it. These are not punishments. They are corrections to a restless appetite. When you want less, you are less controllable. The person who can be content with simple things is not easy to buy, flatter, or distract. Remember this image. An empty room can feel poor to a hungry mind, but it can feel royal to a disciplined one. Rule 7. Do not enter other people's drama without permission. Some people are always inviting you into emotional weather that is not yours to carry. They want a reaction, a side, a rescue, an endless explanation. If you enter every storm, you will mistake exhaustion for loyalty. Stoic boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. You can listen without absorbing. You can help without collapsing. You can care without becoming available to manipulation. This matters with family conflict, workplace gossip, social media arguments, and friends who keep turning every conversation into a crisis. The practical rule is simple. Do not rush to fix what is not yours. Ask what is required. Offer what is wise, then stop. No over-explaining. No desperate defending. No need to be understood by everyone who benefits from misunderstanding you. If the conversation begins to drag you into anger or performance, step back. Say less. Delay the response. Leave the room if needed. Protect your attention. Protect your steadiness. The strongest person in the room is often the one who refuses to be pulled into chaos on command. Picture a citadel on a cliff. while the village below is noisy and unsettled. The citadel does not insult the village, it simply remains above the floodline. That is what boundaries do for the mind. Rule 8. Practice controlled exposure to stress. A person who never meets resistance becomes fragile. Not because they are incapable, but because everything unfamiliar feels larger than it is. Stoic training includes rehearsing pressure in small, deliberate ways, so you do not panic when life becomes heavier. This is where daily discipline becomes a shield. Speak clearly in a difficult meeting instead of hiding. Hold eye contact. Finish the difficult task before the easy ones. Take the stairs. Go to the gym when you do not feel inspired. Spend a few minutes in silence when you want constant noise. Sit with the mild discomfort instead of escaping it immediately. You are not trying to make life miserable. You are teaching your nervous habits that discomfort is survivable, that you can remain orderly while the body complains, that you can keep your shape under strain. This matters because pressure often arrives without warning. A difficult conversation, a setback, a criticism, a crowded room, a long day. The person who has never practiced steadiness collapses into reaction. The person who is trained with small burdens carries larger ones without losing dignity. Remember this phrase: make yourself harder to shake. Like a citadel built on stone, your mind should not move every time weather changes. Rule 9. Guard your speech. A weak mind often leaks itself through constant explaining, defending, over-clarifying, and speaking too quickly to manage discomfort. The need to be instantly understood can become a trap. It hands control to the reaction of the listener. Stoic speech is measured. It says what is necessary. It leaves out the emotional noise. It does not beg to be approved. It does not turn every disagreement into a performance. When you speak this way, your words carry more weight because they are not scattered. In practice, this means pausing before answering difficult questions. It means not filling silence just because silence feels tense. It means refusing to argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. It means saying no without building a cathedral of excuses. Use this habit at work, in relationships, and in conflict. A calm sentence often does more than a long speech. A clear boundary can be stronger than an apology offered out of fear. A few honest words can hold more dignity than a flood of explanation. Picture a bronze gate that opens only when needed, not because it is fearful, because it is governed. Your speech should be like that gate, deliberate, guarded, and useful. Not every thought needs a voice. Rule 10. Return to the work in front of you. Mental strength is not built by grand moods. It is built by repeated returns. You get distracted, and you return. You get irritated, and you return. You get tempted to drift into envy, resentment, or fantasy, and you return. This is the final habit because it binds the others together. Attention, discomfort, morning ownership, delayed impulse, nightly review, wanting less, boundaries, stress practice, measured speech. All of it leads back here. The ability to return without drama. The modern world rewards fragmentation. It tells you to keep moving, keep consuming, keep reacting, keep comparing. But a strong mind does not obey the noise. It comes back to the task, the principle, the duty, the next right action. So when the day shakes you, do not ask whether you feel like a disciplined person. Ask what the disciplined person would do next. Then do that one thing. Answer the email, take the walk, close the app, finish the set, wash the dish, write the line, make the call, return. That is how self-command is built. Not in one dramatic victory, but in many quiet recoveries. And when you can return to yourself, you are no longer ruled by every passing storm. Today, choose one habit from this video and practice it with full attention. One habit, one day, one honest return to the citadel.